people ask me sometimes, Chris, why do you give speeches? You're the founder of Shazam. I mean, that seems like a strange thing to do. And this is the reason, because I realized that there were these learnings I had from creating Shazam, but also from the 8 years I spent at Google, where I joined when it was a private company with 2,000 employees, helping as the first mobile partnerships person at Google and on Android. And then also at Dropbox, where I joined, where it was 90 people with duct tape on the floors. 12 years at these companies, I realized these learnings, these key things, these ways of thinking differently that every entrepreneur can use to create amazing things. Build from basic truths, apply creative persistence, pick your obsession, eliminate friction, and connect to emotions. So let me start off. Imagine a cook cooking a delicious dish, right? But now a chef comes and they have to cook a delicious dish, but there is no recipe. The cook starts from the recipe, but the chef has to invent the recipe. How does a chef invent recipes? Well, who knew that a chef invents recipes the same way that Steve Jobs, Henry Ford, and Leonardo da Vinci come up with great ideas? And that's by starting from the ingredients. Because breakthrough ideas that come from first principles thinking is coming from the raw ingredients or the basic truths. And what you do when you're coming up with a breakthrough idea, when you're building from basic truths, is you have to question all the assumptions, because we all make assumptions. That's how we naturally think. We think from what we know and by analogy. Like all the 6 companies that said, there's technologies that monitor radio play, so we're going to build a music service that identifies songs from radio play. We think from what we know, but you have to question the assumptions and then break down to what you know are the actual basic truths, not assumptions. And when you have those basic truths, those are your raw ingredients, and from there, that's where you build up the possibilities and come up with your breakthrough idea. So I had this problem, one that we all had, or many of us had, where I would just hear songs in my daily life, and I would wonder what they were. And I'd hear a song, and I'd go ask someone, I'd say, could you tell me what that song is? I love that song. And then I would write it down on a list. I even waited till the end of the movie in the movie cinema so I could see what the song was that was played in the movie. And I kept this list. And when the list got long enough, I made something called a mixtape. A mixtape doesn't exist anymore. Now we have Spotify playlists. There was a second problem, though. This is the type of phone that people had at the time. Who had this phone? Everybody. All right. And it was such a great phone, we would show our friends and be like, look at this phone, it's so cool. But if you think about it, you could really only do 3 things with phones like this at the time. You could make phone calls, you could send text messages. Snake. And you could play Snake if it was a Nokia phone. And that was it. That was pretty much all you could do with phones. And I'm sitting there thinking, I've got one of these phones, and I'm thinking, everyone is walking around with these phones in their pockets. If I could come up with something else they could do with them, one more thing, that would be a great business. What could I come up with? Now, the traditional thinking is what the other 6 companies did, starting from the assumptions. Well, I assume there's technologies that monitor radio play, so I assume we have to start from that, and so we'll build a radio recognition service, right? That's traditional thinking. And that was my original idea. My original idea was not good enough. If I had done that, Shazam wouldn't be around today. But luckily, I was laying in bed in central London, and I was thinking of it to myself, okay, now if I built this thing with a radio, and we know what's playing on the radio, and you type in the radio songs, and what could someone do that would leapfrog me? What could someone do that would make me irrelevant? You should all ask yourself that. What could someone do that would make me irrelevant? And that's when I had the aha moment, because people think that Shazam was, what's that song? That's not the breakthrough idea of Shazam. The breakthrough idea was, oh my gosh, What if you didn't need to know what was playing on the radio? What if you didn't need radio monitoring technologies? What if it could just be done from the sound coming through the air to the microphone of the phone? I could still remember that moment when I had that idea, and I just thought, that is it. That is what I want to do. The aha moment of Shazam. So the two basic truths, because I didn't realize it, but I was thinking from basic truths, from first principles, from the raw ingredients. And the two basic truths are, every mobile phone has a microphone, because you have to talk into it, and all music is audible. Those are not assumptions, those are basic truths. And from those two basic truths, this breakthrough idea had come up, and no one had ever done it. So when you think about all the things you're working on and all the new ideas you're trying to come up with, what is your new idea? What's the breakthrough idea that you're going to come up with? And the way you're going to do it is you're going to defy your own brain, because our brains are wired to think by analogy, to think from what we know, because that's efficient. That's how we think efficiently. Otherwise, it would take too much effort even to get here today. We'd question everything. How do I know that's my car? How do I know it's filled with gas? I mean, it would just be endless. You only do it when you're trying to come up with a breakthrough idea where you question all the assumptions, break down to those basic truths, and then that's how Elon Musk came up with SpaceX. That's how you come up with these breakthrough ideas, questioning the assumptions.